everybody, Jeff Gayduk here from Leisure Group Travel, and I'm happy to have with me today Claudio Zemp from Switzerland Tourism. Claudio, how are you doing today?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for having me. It's a great
Great.
pleasure.
Well, it's awesome to have you on board. So, Claudio, we've got a lot of exciting news to talk about today in regards to Switzerland tourism. But for those that are unfamiliar with you, I know that you came to New York City prior to COVID, but it's been kind of a no-go travel zone. So maybe talk a little bit about your background with Switzerland tourism.
Yeah, well, I've been with the tourism board for 10 years now. I was based in Britain first, where I was responsible for the MICE promotion. And then I spent the last 4 years in India, which was a fantastic experience, a total different market. And then I was offered the position to come to North America. And now here, of course, in the US particularly, we had great years. You know, we had increase of passengers, 10% each year. So I was like, well, what can go wrong? I'm going to go to the US. And little did I know that I was walking right into the COVID crisis. And of course, it hasn't been quite as successful as I was hoping so far.
Well, you've got a new baseline in which to start with, so we need to be positive about this. So before we get into the crux of the interview, because again, there's a lot of really good news coming out of Switzerland post-COVID, talk about, from your experience, the difference between the market in India and the market in the US. What's been your experience, similarities and differences as far as strategy and how you guys go about your business?
Well, I mean, it's very interesting, right? I mean, you always think like you have one product to promote and it's the same product for everybody, but it really is not. I mean, really the understanding of, what entitles a good holiday is very different in different markets. So it's a great privilege really to also travel from one country to the other and learn about this. Clearly, I mean, what it is in the long haul markets, it's sort of like a lot of people are coming to Europe and don't spend just time in Switzerland. They combine it with different countries. So this is quite similar from India and here in the US. We were very lucky here in North America to really have quite an upscale clientele, people who really spend quite a decent amount of money when they come to Switzerland. And maybe are also a little bit of an older clientele. Whereabouts in India, we had a lot of, all ages, a lot of multi-generational families traveling together. Very interesting background there as well.
In regards to people visiting Switzerland in conjunction with other destinations, other countries, would you say the other tourist boards are your frenemies? So there, you'll do maybe some net cooperative promotion where it makes sense, but ultimately you want that business in Switzerland.
Well, I think at the end of the day, everybody would like to have the biggest piece of the pie. However, I think I always find it a great benefit, that we can also benefit from the other countries, whatever they have to offer, that people can combine these holidays. So we are absolutely working together. We are very friendly amongst the tourist boards, and that up till now the pie was big enough for all of us.
That may change for the short term, I know, coming out of this, which makes a lot of sense from the standpoint of everybody's going to be trying to capture market share. We know that from North America to Europe, airlift will probably be a little bit tight coming through. So as we work through some of these points, I think making the case for travel to Switzerland first and foremost will be one of your missions, and one that I'm interested to hear about today. So, Claudia, you guys have been quite busy during this time period when travel has not been very prevalent, with a lot of announcements about Switzerland and some of the activities you're undertaking. I guess first and foremost, most recently, the announcement about the new brand ambassador. You want to talk about your relationship with Roger Federer?
Well, we are hugely excited about that. So Roger Federer has decided to work with us together to promote Switzerland all around the world. I mean, he has been spending many, many years as positively representing Switzerland through his sporting excellence and friendly, down-to-earth manner. And now he's our brand ambassador. We are entering a long-term relationship together, where our common goal is that the people will know that Switzerland is energizing them when they come and visit. He has been traveling all around the world, and he keeps saying he loves coming back to Switzerland, and just to recharge his batteries, this is the best place to go to.
So this is a multi-year partnership you're working on him. We expect to see him as part of advertising campaigns, perhaps some personal appearances when that becomes more in vogue.
I think the personal appearances are very asked for by all my colleagues all around the world. So we might have to get into a bit of a queue for that. But yes, of course, he will be the face of our B2C campaign, which is going to be launching in May, depending, of course, on the situation in the different markets. We are expecting the campaign to launch in Europe first, and then coming into the long haul markets as well. There will be video clips, there will be photo material. He will be talking about his favorite activities in Switzerland. And of course, he is like a family father, so he knows very much where the families need to go. He's very much an outdoor person, a hiker, so he knows all the best tips to go hiking. So there is a lot of content which we're looking forward to distribute together.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a better brand ambassador just based on those points and matching his personality and his style with the Switzerland brand. So that should be a fun campaign. And, not that you guys are off the radar, but it certainly should get you a notch or two above where you've been in the past with that sort of notoriety.
I think, if you've been asking anybody who's been working for Switzerland Tourism, what would be the dream for you? Who would you like to work with? We would have said for many, many years that, we want to work with Roger. And now finally, it's really a bit of a dream come through for us.
Very, very cool. Well, good. I'll look forward to seeing that come together. Another announcement, again, just you guys have been ripping news off, or some of your partners have, is I recently saw something from the Adventure Travel Trade Association that they had joined with you in your sustainable tourism campaign. Now, my history with this, I mean, they're a phenomenal organization. I remember going to one of the ATTA summits in Lucerne. Can't remember the year, maybe 2017 could have been.
Not that long ago. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
17, 18, yeah.
It was not that long ago. And as it relates to sustainability, that's been a huge buzzword for the industry for years. But in past recessions, we've seen that sort of take a backseat as people focus more on survival than sustainability. So to see you guys move this forward is impressive. Can you maybe provide some details as far as what you're doing as far as sustainability?
Yes, I'd love to. I think we feel that, the pandemic also has increased the desire for authenticity and proximity to nature and considerate consumption. And we, as a country, always have taken great pride in doing this. We're striking a balance between the needs of the guests, but also the needs of the local population and the environment. And this initiative of us is really one to start a movement within the industry in Switzerland to really focus even more on this long-term goal, but also to position Switzerland as a destination internationally, which really already has so much to offer in that field.
Well, it's certainly an important topic. I can't believe that. Was it probably 18 months ago we were talking about the topic of over-tourism, and probably any destination in the world doesn't have that problem right now. But as people start to travel more, and we're seeing that certainly in the U.S., and as international borders open up, that will rise to the surface again. So leaving no footprint and making sure that your trip there is not only memorable, but you're also being sensitive to the environment, I think makes a lot of sense and is in tune with what travelers should be looking forward to. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Another thing I wanted to ask, I saw something, a press release again from you folks regarding women's only events, tours, and activities. So can you maybe talk to sort of the spirit behind that and how that campaign got started, and what women's only travel groups can expect going forward?
Well, I mean, we're extremely proud. It's a project which has been launched from women within our company who have created this whole campaign, and not just a campaign, but really also a product. We are a very outdoorsy country. I mean, this is like hiking, biking, mountain climbing are fantastic activities. But there's most of the time there's always a lot of men there in these groups as well, and the women within our company have felt like, well, we would love to do much more of this, but we also would like to be to do this amongst women teams, amongst our peers, with our girlfriends. And we have now created a list of over 200 offers, which were created by women for women, who are always led by female guides. Be that climbing, mountaineering, hiking, trail running, are just a few of these options. So this is coming out now at a time where people want to spend more time at the outdoors, at the fresh air, and not being packed together with people inside. And to market this, we have quite a fantastic activity planned for this year. We have 48 4,000-meter peaks in Switzerland, and I believe in feet that's about 13,000 feet. And we are planning to conquer all these 48,000-meter peaks in Switzerland with women-only teams. And we're creating a lot of memories with this, a lot of social media impression. We have participants which were former Olympians, we have singers, we have TV hosts, and a lot of normal people also who are participating in this activity.
And that goes on for the entire year for 2021?
Well, I mean, the offer is valid for all the time, but the 48 peak challenges, we are hoping to finish this by the end of September, that we managed to do all 48 peaks by the end of September.
Okay, good. Well, what I like about the women's only focus is, we've seen this rise in niche and affinity travel, and perhaps the strongest of that are these women only travel groups. And, there's a certain style and camaraderie that they have when they travel together. And what we see coming out of COVID is more of this bubble sort of travel environment where, yes, you want to go and you want to get back out and re-explore, but, is it safe? What's open? What can we do? And these small groups of people traveling together makes a lot of sense. And the fact that you've sort of pulled these experiences together for these type of groups should be very appealing towards the marketplace. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, what you're saying, I mean, we're seeing this when I mentioned these multi-generational families in India before, I mean, we're feeling like this is really coming up here as well. We're traveling, we're putting a group together. We're like 8 people, we're 12 people, be that friends or family. And, we're sticking together more or less for this trip a little bit more than maybe we did in the past, where we tried to meet as many people as we could on our holidays.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that we will get back to the days of full motor coaches and big buses again that are filled to the brim. We're already seeing this with airlines where Delta just announced in the U.S. they're going to stop pulling back that middle seat. So things will change, but that small group experience, the things that you can see and do in that environment, I think are pretty special in many cases. So I think that'll certainly be with us for quite some period of time.
Absolutely.
Next question for you. And, we've seen a resurgence here domestically and a lot of tour planners, agents that have gotten interest from consumers in booking national parks, beach vacations, New England. I know Europe's been a little bit slower just based on, the current environment. But as borders open back up again and as airlift starts to increase, what would you say makes Switzerland a smart choice for that first trip back to Europe?
Well, I mean, I'd like to think that Switzerland is the natural choice to come after a first post-COVID trip. I mean, we have a reputation for safety, for cleanliness, for being uber organized, which might not sound so sexy in normal times, but these times, I mean, it's really something which you can rely on. We have been really working very hard throughout the last year now, to have these protocols in place. And interestingly, our tourism offering has never really been shut down. There was a short period last year where it was, but more or less the full summer last year, the winter ski resorts were open the whole winter this year with us. Of course, mainly catering to the domestic market, but really, I mean, it's been taking over. People got used to it. We know how we can handle this. So we are ready whenever our joint governments are ready to let us traveling again, we know that we are able to accommodate our guests from North America. I always say, like, our cities, for example, I mean, I always sort of like call them a little bit despectively glorified villages. Our biggest city is Zurich with 400,000 inhabitants. Really, these are boutique towns. They're so small, they're so easy to manage. You do not have to go into a packed subway to get somewhere. You are often just really walking and walking through pedestrianized old towns along the rivers. So many places you can reach by foot. You can take a tram. You never have to really be stuck into big groups of people, which really is very charming on a holiday and is what you want. And then, of course, the normal experience of Switzerland, it's all about the outdoors anyway. We have these wonderful mountainous landscapes which you can roam, which you can hike, we can go biking. You're taking a gondola on top of a mountaintop and you feel like you're there by yourself. You have the beautiful landscapes there. You take a lake cruise on our steamers on the lakes outside. So it's all about the outdoors and the nature. So really, when you come to Switzerland, you will have a very good time and you will not feel like, oh, well, you're going to be so inconvenienced because of the actions you have to take.
Sure. Yeah, I would imagine, the train systems there are phenomenal, on time, can get principally where you need to go, safety protocol and such in place to make sure that people that maybe would be uncomfortable normally can feel safe and secure on board the rail system.
That's true, and of course, we are also one of the countries in Europe, right? I mean, English is so widely spoken. People are really. It's not just in the hotel where you can communicate. It's everywhere when you go. If you need to find somewhere, go somewhere. You're just very comfortable there anyway.
What can you tell me about airlift coming to Switzerland going forward? Pending announcements, things that you've seen, because obviously lift is a concern coming out of the US.
It's a big concern, right? I mean, we had so many flights coming with all various airlines over the years, and pretty much everything went down almost to zero. We are extremely happy that Swiss International Airlines, they have announced for this summer season, which starts now actually in April, the summer flight schedule. Miami is back on the schedule 5 times a week. In May, Boston will be flown at daily. We're going to have flights from Los Angeles 5 times a week, which is on top of New York and New York. JFK and New York, and Chicago and San Francisco, which we already had. So really, we also feel like the airlines are actually, confident that the business will come back, and there will be plenty of room available at the moment on these flights. Nevertheless, of course, we know it's never as much as we had prior to the pandemic, but it's a right step in the right direction.
Yeah, as a sure sign of how the industry's changed, Southwest Airlines is flying out of O'Hare Airport now, which never happened before. They were out of Midway, and they're flying out of the international terminal because there was very little demand around the world for international flights. So they came up and swooped a lot of gates, and I'm not sure what the long-term ramification of that is, but just goes to show what strange times we have going on here.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. I mean, on the news this weekend now, right, with the Easter break, I mean, just how many people were ready to travel already, domestically, of course, mainly, but also, I mean, people are prepared to fly. They are really anxious to go back on holidays and do trips. So that's really something which we are noticing, and makes us feel hopeful as well.
Absolutely. So I know you need to be somewhat politically correct with this being the National Tourist Office, but maybe you can give some of your favorite memories of Switzerland vacations, yourself, your family, growing up. What are some of those sort of iconic places that you've been to that maybe aren't on people's radar right now?
Oh, this is very difficult to say. I mean, it's funny enough because I came into tourism. You know, I started out as a travel agent back in the days, and because I went into tourism because I wanted to travel all around the world. I didn't even know that there was something like promoting my own country until I moved to Britain and I needed a job, and I'm like, oh, maybe they would hire me there. So I got really, since I'm working for the tourist board, I got to explore so many areas and so many places I never knew existed. I have to say, you know, when we are going back home, the many lakes in Switzerland are just fantastic. It's just so that the water is so crisp and clean. It's actually decently warm in summer, right? Many people think Switzerland always with the snow-capped mountains and everything. It's really quite warm when you go in summer. So we just have nice afternoons on the lakes. We take a picnic, you swim, you have the mountains in the background. That's always something which we do. I do like to go, my parents live about 50 minutes outside of Zurich. We always go, you know, just to Zurich to stroll around the old towns. I mean, when you go shopping or window shopping in Switzerland, quite often, you know, it's not just the big brands which you have. You have a lot of really unique shops, family-owned shops, where you find different things. So this is a fantastic thing to do. And really, we have very, very, very nice 5-star hotels in Switzerland as well, which I started appreciating. The older I get, the more I appreciate it as well. And I've got already a list with a couple of them, which I will visit when I go back to Switzerland.
We might need to create a new campaign of Claudio's picks or something of this sort. Again, you have to watch the politics of that in the local environment, make sure that everybody's happy at the end of the day. So great. Claudio, anything else you'd like to share for today for tips, recommendations on Switzerland before?
Well, I mean, I have some news for group organizers maybe as well, which are interesting. So we had, you know, the mountain excursion to the Jungfrau Joch is one of our top tips, where so many people go and have such an amazing experience. The train was built, you know, somewhere between 1892 and 1912. And it was the same train ride since you know, over 100 years, 130 years now already to go up there. And they have now introduced a new gondola, which goes up 45 minutes quicker than the old train, which really takes quite a bit of the time away. The great thing is you can combine it. You can take the new gondola up, which, you know, you're floating over these landscapes, and going back, you can still take the old side train and have this experience. So this is really something which makes it even more exciting to go to the Jungfrau Joch. That's opened in December 2020, last year. And we have really now also with Switzerland, sometimes a little bit of a problem is that we don't have the huge hotels with big groups. Most of our hotels are more like, you know, charming, smaller hotels. So we have now a new destination almost at the airport in Zurich. It's called The Circle. 554 hotel rooms of the Hyatt Group are there. So particularly for groups, when you have to, say, the last night before you come back to North America, the flight leaves somewhere in the morning. You don't want to wake up the group at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to the time to the airport. It could be a great place to stay there. There's a lot of restaurants. There's going to be a lot of shops there where you can do your last minute shopping, all the things which you didn't manage to get during the whole trip to be done there. And then, of course, you know, it's an airport location, and people always say, oh, airport locations. But in Switzerland, everything is so small. You know, the train from the airport location into town is 9 minutes. It's literally like a 5-stop subway ride in New York to be in the center of town. So this could be also something which is could be of interest. And the hotel's open now in March.
Nice, nice. Well, I'll look forward to getting more information on that. I think that's a great bookend to the trip. As you mentioned, those early morning flights can be kind of a struggle, and that last day of the trip, if you got to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, it kind of puts a dent to your evening activities. So it could be a good way to end things and then make your way back home again.
Right, right.
Great. Okay, well, Claudio, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for the update on Switzerland tourism, and I look forward to coming back myself, certainly one of my favorite destinations in the world.
Thanks very much for your time. It was my pleasure.